On Second Shot, we tackle 2 new headlines every week to find out what kind of wisdom the world is dishing out today. And we want you to be a part of that. When you see a headline you want to take a second shot at, or if you're looking for advice, or just want to tell us what you think of the show, email us at secondshotcast@gmail.com. If you like what you hear, rate us on iTunes. This helps us move up in the ratings so more people will see us. And if you want to hear more, subscribe to the show so that the new episodes will get straight to you every single Friday. We love you. Thanks for listening and enjoy.
Heath Oakes is a millennial mogul whose ignorance on fire led him to fail his way to success. Jenny Anchondo is an Emmy Award-winning journalist whose sharp eye and biting wit have led to her storied career in television. Together, they tackle today's headlines in a way only an odd couple with a dash of perfect opposite can. So kick back, relax, and join the conversation. This is Second Shot with your hosts, Heath and Jenny.
Now, for this special Mother's Day episode, Jenny, the mother, is like on some kind of hyper drugs or something. She's over like dancing and like beat bopping and like way out of the norm here. We got Jenny, Zach, and Matt as always.
Hi.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Beat bopping.
Beat bopping, dabbing.
I'm bebopping and dabbing because this is an exclusive. This is a Second Shot podcast exclusive. My own mother is here from Idaho for the podcast. Welcome, everybody, to Jeanette Anchondo.
Hi, everybody.
That was good. That was good, Mama.
Good?
Strong.
Jenny has
Yes.
used like I had to spend like 5 hours teaching Jenny sales skills in order to sell her mother on coming on because I didn't think you were gonna pull that off.
She did make a TV appearance. Well, her voice has made 2 TV appearances.
Oh.
Once when I worked in Arizona and we were making pumpkin. I think we had a chef cancel, and I was like, it's fine. I'll teach everyone how to make homemade pumpkin pies, which I do not know how to make. So we did a phone-in with my mom.
Aww.
And then did you do the sweetbread? Did you do Mexican sweetbread?
Yes, I
Did a
sent some
call-in?
sweetbread to you, and then you called about it.
So good, so good. So she's going to be along, and she has worked in the childcare industry for, I don't know, like 4 decades, 3 decades or something like that.
Probably close to 5 decades.
Okay.
So we thought, obviously, with this being Mother's Day weekend and you know, all of that we really wanted to kind of, you know, I don't think you can ever do enough of a shout out and put the moms up on a pedestal enough. So I figured
I mean, I agree.
she would.
Oh, I see. Wait, I got it.
Yeah.
It took me a second to see what happened there.
But I think that it would be cool that if we did, you know, this will be more around parenting in general of an episode because it is Mother's Day weekend. So we really wanted to find stuff to center around that and hopefully give the moms enough praise that they absolutely deserve in all of our lives that are on this episode and many that are listening. So
Yeah.
we're really going to have a heavy target there, right, Zach?
That's true. And parenting is, of course, the hardest job of all. If you're like us and you think of parents, you think, of course, of the royal couple, Meghan and Harry. And when it comes to Meghan and Harry, the big question...
like a parent for like a week now.
That's right, yeah. The big question for them this week is whether or not they'll hire a Norland nanny for their royal baby. Now, everybody out there doesn't know what a Norland nanny is, so let me explain. Apparently, there's this college in the UK called Norland College. And what Norland College does is they teach the nannies of the rich and the famous, and they've been doing it for 127 years. They're teaching them everything from sewing and cooking to first aid to self-defense and cybersecurity. It's the whole package.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
This article describes them as the combination between Mary Poppins and James Bond. And they do the whole thing.
That sounds really legit.
It's true, yeah, with a bow of fancy British etiquette. So that's, you know, very, very legit. Right, they're very well put together. And the question they're asking is whether or not the royal family will buck the royal trend of having one of these nannies come from the college and watch their baby, or try something new, break out of the mold, do something different. That's the big question. And what I want to ask you guys is, what's your second shot on this?
I'm going to let Jenny go first.
Ooh.
Well, first of all, my mom's kind of a Norland nanny.
I think in a lot of
Actually.
ways. Yeah, I think you'd be qualified.
So she has come in and helped us out a lot over the years. But, you know, my second shot on this is I just find it interesting how much speculation there is over the way that someone opts to raise their child. Right, and I get everyone's looking at the royal family and everything like that, but you know, at the end of the day, and Heath and I were talking about this offline, you've got to just do what works for your family and sort of like take away any sort of judgment. So there's that aspect of it. And then there's the other aspect of it with work. And I thought, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if we all sort of strive to be the Norland nanny of our particular job? Like wherever you work, even when it's a job that you might not be. I think back on my, Taco Bell dishwashing days, and you know what, I probably would have gotten promoted to a cashier or to, actually be able to make some tacos if I would have treated myself as the Norland nanny of dishwashing at Taco Bell. You know what I mean? Like really get some attention
That's a
for
good
the
point.
job.
Yeah.
How much self-defense training did you need at the
A lot.
Actually, a significant amount. Thank you
Honestly.
very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a rough crowd.
Aw.
It was. And you, Mama, kind of train people in the child care work. I wonder if you can take back to them and teach them about being Norland nannies.
Well, I think with anything that you do it 110%. So if being a Norland nanny is 110% of, nannying, that's what everyone should strive to be.
It certainly seems
Totally.
to be.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I also took and thought about it in the parenting world, right? Like a lot around women power and women being able to be, more of an influence in a lot of different industries and in business as a whole. But then, a lot of them will always come out because they're going to carry a child if they're going to have babies. Not all are going to, but if they're going to be a mom, right? We're on Mother's Day. There are other things that come up that are going to maybe take a little bit more out of their life than, say, me as a man, right? Like that's what's going to happen. So my thought about it was when we think about it, the work-life balance of success, you hear always, it seems like people have to sacrifice being a mother or a father or super uber successful, right? There's always this debate around all of that. And Jenny, you've been to these conferences where you've heard these women talk and you're like, that are killing it, and that how much they've had to miss out on their kids' life. And you're like, I want to be there, but like, I really don't want to sacrifice that. And what I go back to is, guess what? All of that is okay. If you want to be the person that is your main deal and it's you're going to miss the kids' volleyball tournaments and all that, and that's okay with you, then I'm not here to judge you on that. That's fine. But if you're one that doesn't want to do that, then you may not be able to be the CEO of Coke because you're going to have to probably give up a whole lot of that and the travel and all of those things. And that not only for men, but for women and being a mother, right? So, but I also believe you can have a super successful career and be around your children and be a part of their life. They're not absolutely exclusive of each other. You just have to get better at time management. And with us having a nanny, that was an investment that we wanted to make that we thought was a good middle ground in order for our kid to have a stable, loving person there instead of just a group of whatever. That's what we were able to do in order to keep our careers at a level we wanted to do. But not everybody can do that.
Yeah, well, and can I go ahead, or I'll let you finish, then I'll go.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, now he's mad.
I can't wait.
just go.
No, hold on.
No. Well, I just
Watch
wanted to
out.
make sure. I personally don't have anything wrong with the child care system. I have nothing against that. But I do think it's important for us to explain to people that we do have a nanny, because a lot of people will compare. They'll see something online. They'll say, "Oh gosh, they just went on this weekend away trip, and wow, Heath was able to travel, and Jenny's speaking at this event at nighttime, and how are they able to do it?" Well, we do it because we do have this resource to fall back on. So I just never want a mom who is maybe a full-time stay-at-home mother to compare what I'm doing with what she's doing, because that's where it gets really hard. If somebody's got the Norland nanny, well, you know what? Yeah, then they don't have to be the ones taking self-defense because their Norland nanny did it. So I guess I just see this as kind of like encouragement to, I do in a way, I'm like, okay, I like to know that they've got that, and maybe then I can't do what that other mom is doing because they have these resources. And Heath brought up the speech that I went to, and I forget if I talked about it on the podcast, an executive from AT&T who I really looked up to in terms of her career success. And I was like, wow, I was emceeing and she was the actual speaker. And I thought, you sum somebody up like, okay, she's this old and she was at this spot in her career at this point. And then she spoke and she said, when I do my kids' events, I see the first event and the last one. I see the first ballet class and I see the recital. I see the first soccer game and the last soccer game. I do not see the ones in between. That's how I've been able to prioritize, and that's how I've been able to really be there for my company and hit all of our sales goals. And to me, I was like, wow, I'm still really look up to her. But for me, that wouldn't be sufficient.
But that's what I was trying to get at too. Is that but you didn't judge her. And
No.
that's the thing. Is that's going on the. It's every mother in general, right? Father and anybody, they have their own way of doing things and how it is, and it's like, instead of realizing that you have to be have a nanny like we do, or not have one because you don't want to, or you want to send them this, it's all okay as long as you own being you and you are successful in your right of thinking that you're where you want to be, not where you want to. Society says you should or should not be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like we have, I mean, I think Irma is kind of a Norland nanny too.
Aw.
I think Irma
I'm
is
sure
definitely
she
a
is.
Norland nanny.
Don't you think?
Oh, she's amazing. She's amazing. I love her so much. I'm
me
so
too.
thankful for Irma.
Shout out to when can we have her on the podcast?
I know.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to have
She-
Irma come on.
Yeah, Irma should have been here today. She's so good.
No.
Let's call her.
Well, and I just think about it over and over as it's mothers are all, I mean, the overwhelming majority of mothers are going to do whatever it takes to be the best they can be. And whether that's they have a much more professional slant or they have a much more at home with their kids slant, that's all okay. And it's like that old saying, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. Like, if you think and you feel successful in whatever it is you are,
Right.
don't look at what others are doing and compare, that keeping up with the Joneses syndrome, I think will be more harmful to your kids down the road than being comfortable in your skin and, you know what, hiring the Norland Nanny if that's what you're going to do, or not, or go against the grain if you want to go against the grain, if you want to, do whatever it is you want to do. Don't let others kind of sway you from your beliefs and where they need to be. And so I think we have a couple more mothers topics going to be coming up on the second segment of Second Shot as well.
He makes up words, she translates them. Heath and Jenny host more of Second Shot, coming up on RNCN.
To all of my friends in the great state of Texas, if you have not taken advantage, I have a way to save you a ton of money. I have saved over about $3,000 in the last year, and I have no hassle. Go to energyogre.com, put in the promo code SECONDSHOT. Now listen, promo code SECONDSHOT, and you're going to get a free month just for signing up and saving a ton of money. So don't be crazy. Stop sitting around talking about, is this the real deal, and go do it right now. energyogre.com, promo code SECONDSHOT, and a free month. Thanks. Go get it now. Run.
Ready? Aim. Fire. Second Shot is back for another round on RNCN.
One thing I'm kind of regretting is the amount of sunscreen I did not put on yesterday on our last day of Dominican. That like having my shirt on is like rubbing. We've been in the Dominican last weekend from one of my cousin's wedding, and like did so good on sunscreen on like Saturday. Then like Sunday, we weren't 100% sure how long we'd be out there, and I don't think I really put it on. And next thing you know, that like 30 minutes out there, I'm like burnt.
Do you burn instead of tan, Heath?
No, I get red and I turn to tan really quick.
Okay.
It's a transitional process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty fast. It doesn't really stay around like a burn for very long.
I don't know that I've ever been tan in my entire life.
Yeah, no. You guys need to check out Matt on the YouTube version, and you will know what he's talking about.
Incredibly,
Do you tan, Zach?
like a ghost
I
in
do
here.
okay. Yeah, I'm a believer of like you can never have too much sunscreen. I'm like every 45 minutes hit me. Like I want more, all over, full coat, and like I tan fine, but like way overdue on the sunscreen to make that happen. So it's
You're gonna
neither
look
here nor
so
there.
young forever.
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going for. Yeah.
Yeah. It's working.
I was putting
I was
putting sunscreen on one of the Dominican. I look over there, these other guys, they're literally like putting like this tanning oil on them. I'm like, really? What?
Go ahead. I've had friends in college that like they would not do sunscreen. They're like, no, you can't tan if you wear sunscreen. I'm like, you're in higher education. Like, how do you not know this? Like, you're fine.
It's not the best for
You
you.
are not new.
They want a good burn in, and then it turns tan. That's the whole deal. I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I accidentally one time grabbed a bottle of the little tanning oil
Of the
stuff
oil,
and,
yeah.
and the sunscreen kind of, I mean, it can look like the same. So
They do not look the same.
Well, they were both sprays. It was both the same.
Okay.
And so I reached down in the bag one time. We were out at the beach in Florida and just grabbed and was, putting on. And I quickly, about 10 minutes later, realized, holy crap, this is not
You
sunscreen.
made a mistake.
This is not. I felt like I was like wrapped in foil on the beach or something. I said, this has got to go.
Like a lobster.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of doing things on a beach, we've got a story here. Pink.
Good transition.
Thank you.
Oh, that was good.
I'm working on my segues. I'm getting better. Speaking of doing things on a beach, Pink, the artist, the musician, and Pink. Yes.
We know.
Pink.
She stopped posting photos of her kids on social media due to disgusting comments from mom shamers. There was a photo of her son on the beach and a pelican, and somehow involved, I guess, like a copper tone baby kind of situation.
Yeah.
A little bit of bottom, a little bit of something you could see there.
Yeah.
And people lit her up on Instagram about it. Oh my God, I can't believe you're posting that, and judgment and all kinds of things. So she made a whole thing back, and I won't get into it because there's some language in it, but she ends up going on Ellen later and talking about it. And she said, it really upset me because sharing my kids on social media, like they're my proudest achievement of my whole life. I'm prouder of them more than I am of anything. They are my world, and the fact that I can't share that with the world anymore really upsets me because people just find a problem with it, and that's not okay. And she said, I get it. Some people are saying, you should be more careful because you're in the public eye, and I get that, but there's a nice way to do that. There's a nice way to be good on the internet. You don't have to.
Yeah.
So yeah, posting pictures of your kids and not doing it because people have a problem with it. Any hot takes?
Let me ask you this, Jenny, because this is always one of those things to me is I typically, especially in the early on with Brighton and in the different times of some of the comments that would come up with, any type of thing we were going to be doing or whatever, right? Why is it, though, that a lot of times I see it's like other moms doing it to moms too, right? Like with the Pink thing I saw in there, it was a lot of women that were moms that were saying we wouldn't, and it's like, you know better out of anybody that
They do, but here's the thing. When somebody feels so strongly about the role they're in as a mom, they feel like an expert. It's like they're an expert in their industry. And so they feel like they have the authority because that is their job to go out and not all moms, obviously, but these people who are going online, I think they feel like this is my duty to somehow go out and tell this other mom that she doesn't know what she's doing because they feel like they've put in so much hard work and they've got this knowledge and they've got 3 kids and, so there's that one component. What takes them from there to posting that on the internet, I do not know. Because this just happened. I'm trying to go through and, find the post on this because Rachel Hollis, who is a well-known, she started out, I believe, in the blogging space, and now she's written books, she's a speaker, all of this kind of stuff. She wrote something on Instagram, and the caption was something to the effect of, the media would like to the media would like for you to think that the world is going up in flames, but I'm here to tell you that's not the case. She was trying to be positive. But a lot of people in the media were like, hey, man,
yeah.
That's our livelihood. That's our job. And we're just reporting the truth. Now, I'm going somewhere with this.
The thing is that she is the media, too. She's part of the media.
Right.
But my point with this is that what a lot of these journalists did that had complaints was they respectfully went on her page and explained and said, first of all, I'm a mom, too. I'm a fan. I read your book. This feels a little misguided. I hope that next time you don't, portray the media in this way because you do have such a big following and you do have so many standards to uphold. So I don't think that going to somebody's page and saying something like that, like, hey, you know what, you may not realize how this came out, but this is how this came out, that's one thing. But to go on and just like what they were doing to Pink and just say, this is wrong and you're a terrible mom, that doesn't help anybody. To educate someone and be like, hey, eek, FYI, this might not come across well. I think that those are 2 different things. You see it all the time in the nursery. My mom works in, has, like I said, worked in childcare forever. And you said you see the mom shame game a lot.
I do see it a lot. And I think that as a mom, we have enough guilt and worry without that. Women need to stick together in that way and not shame or put guilt on another mom because the job in itself causes its own guilt And
Right.
you know,
yeah,
its
you feel
own
it
worries.
without anybody else even saying
Pink,
it. You feel it.
And I understand Pink likes to show off her kids. She's in the public eye. She put a picture of her son that people thought was inappropriate. And it's just like you're saying, Jenny, if someone could have sent her a private message and they could have just said, you know what, I appreciate that you love your kids and you want to show them off, but I'm worried that this is going to look like this. This is going to turn out poorly for you. And that would have been, and Pink would have said, you know, okay, I didn't see it that way. And that's what could have been done. And this all could have been, it wouldn't have been a story.
Right. And then it wouldn't have been a story.
Right.
But you know, there's always that line too of making it, especially when you're in a public eye or being an influencer and looking at it in those ways, is that line of how much you let people in on the personal life and how much you don't. You know, is a very tough line to find, and I think it takes something like this for like a Pink to go, you know what, that line's been crossed with me. This is done. You've crossed it, and it's not getting there.
I think you're so right. Like, I think so much. I hope so much of this stuff starts from a good place.
Yeah.
Starts from a place of my kids are my world. I have experienced this. I'm looking at you experiencing it. I want to offer you help. But like the road to being a troll on the internet is paved with good intentions. And like you can so quickly, like you can't read subtext, you can't read tone when it comes to reading a post, a public post on something. Like that stuff just doesn't come across. And sometimes like you just end up seeming like the bad guy, even if you don't mean to be. And some people do, which is also not okay.
Right.
But to just address the mom shaming for a second, it just seems so counterintuitive. As somebody who's not a mom and is pretty far from one, like, it just seems so odd. Moms on the internet are shaming each other. Like, of all people, can't we come together and support each other?
Right. Like, I'll also shame you back and say, could you not spend that 10 minutes it took you to comment online with your own child?
Yeah.
I mean, what are you doing with your time?
Yeah.
Right.
Put the phone down.
Right.
Is this something that, Heath and Jenny, is this something that you consider before you make a post about Brighton or anything like that? Or do you think about this often or what the repercussions might be?
I do.
Jenny
you,
does a lot. Jenny it really weighs a lot with her on whether or not.
Well, because here's the thing, like it's called mom shaming because it's to moms.
Yeah.
Like Heath, have you ever had anybody, online or even in person, or have you ever had anyone critique your parenting?
Well, that's what we were talking about not too long ago. This is the problem I think that is unfortunate for moms. You know, Jenny carried her for 9 months and had to change her entire life over that, right? And the birth and the after effects of just everything she's done. This has been like drastically more than what I have had to do. Okay, like that's, it's not even comparison. But what's interesting is, I did set out to strive to be a better dad than most. Like I wanted to be a dad. Like I wanted to be a good dad. I wanted to be a part of it. I have done things to not travel for that, but it's not been anything close to a scale of what like Jenny has, for instance, as a mom. Okay, people all the time will tell me, "Man, you're just such a good dad." You know, like because I'll have a picture with Brighton because I'm, taking her to a park, right? Okay, like
he wins the Nobel Peace Prize for taking her to the park. Just
and,
so everybody
and
knows.
that is absolutely the truth.
No, and honestly, listen, and here's the thing, is that I think I know without a doubt that Jenny is a great mom, and I believe that people think she's a good mom, but see, they don't voice it because it's almost like it's expected. But a dad, it's not really as expected, so it's like out of the norm, and I've always found that so interesting because I mean I came up to be hey, give me some props. I come up to you and said this early on. I was like, this is crazy how everybody's like, you're a good dad, and I'm like, you're the one who did all the work and do.
Well, no, and I love I'm obviously you don't become a parent to get credit. That would be silly.
Yeah. But
it is just a funny thing to think about. Like aside from my own parents and Heath. Like, nobody's ever been like, wow, you're such a good mom. Again, you don't do it for that, but it's interesting to see the way that society treats it.
It's expected.
Right. We haven't moved forward as much as we like to think we have in
sadly.
ways like that, because it is true. We expect moms to be a certain way, and we expect dads to be a certain way. And so when a dad steps up a little bit, like going to the park, and everyone falls into that, like, oh, aren't they a good dad? They did that. And the mom is... it's true. Not
living.
Yeah.
And look, and here's the thing: is any of the people who've ever said that have no bad intentions.
No,
of doing
no,
they
of course
just,
not.
And
Of
it is all
course not.
positive of them thinking, okay, hey,
and I
you're
want
being a
them
good
to
dad.
give him
Yes.
props.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is it's not quite fair for us to just expect a mom to do certain things and then not give them the props. So like on this Mother's Day episode, I hope if anything, kind of go away to like go find a mom and tell them they're doing a great job. I mean, because not all of them are. So I mean, they can have faults as well. So I mean, just letting them know that.
And I think part of it too is that really, when you think about it, no, Heath doesn't think about what he posts on Instagram with regard to Brighton because he knows nobody's going to criticize it. Like it's very unlikely somebody would. With me, it's very highly likely, and I think that I thankfully have over the years built a super supportive community on both my Facebook pages and Instagram pages, and where I kind of post this stuff, and especially Second Shot group too, by the way. We post some family stuff in there. But I think I've been able to kind of grow a really supportive environment, but I'm also very aware that you are prone to criticism, and I never want to put my daughter in a situation where she would look back and not be proud of what I posted. So I am very thoughtful and selective, and I think that it's prudent to do that because anything you post on the internet is kind of public.
And anything is this is a very pointed episode to moms and stuff, but moms out there, like, let's all take it a little deal and not shame and judge others as well, and dads don't do the same as that as well. And if you're in a work environment, always look at yourself before going and judging and thinking of others. And that old put yourself in somebody else's shoes is something that needs to be as real today as it was when that old saying was done probably 100 years ago, right?
I know, how long ago?
You know what I mean? Like, this is how it is. And I think that if we all become more supportive as people to everybody else and stop judging, then we're gonna have a lot better things in life, I think, coming our way. So looking forward to the third segment of getting some advice from Miss Jeanette and Chondo.
Yeah. Now that's what I call ignorance on fire. More of Heath and Jenny still to come.
You guys have been listening to Second Shot and hearing us talk about it. You need to go pick up my book, Ignorance on Fire, A Journey of Failing Your Way to Success. You can get it on Amazon in a paper book. You can also hear this beautiful voice of mine in audiobook style on Audible or anywhere you're going to get your audiobooks. Guys, this book took a lot of time to put into it, and I believe it can really be some life-changing stuff to help you on your path to success. And hopefully you're going to fail your way to success just like I did. Ignorance on Fire, A Journey of Failing Your Way to Success. Amazon.com, Audible.com, audiobooks, paper books, everything. Get it, share it with your people, and I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Go pick it up today.
Kick off your boots or suit up. The choice is yours. Welcome back to Second Shot on RNCN.
Oh, mother, where art thou? Did that sound very, like, diplomatic and, like, legit?
Is that a phrase from something?
I don't know. I just made it up.
It was
That was from my Norland Nanny days.
Oh yeah, back
He's
when
thinking
he
of
was
going to the Norland Nanny.
Right.
Yeah.
he's almost there. He got close to graduation on that.
I will teach him all kinds of good words.
Norland nannies.
So we, like I said, had my mom in, so I figured that I would kind of ask her some questions. I've always been wanting to interview you and, just really put you on the spot like this.
I can't wait to hang out and chime in whenever I have thoughts.
Yes,
it'll be
yes,
great.
exactly.
No, go ahead, please.
So, so you have 3 kids, all 4 or 5 years apart.
Yes.
Me and then Joey, and then 4 years later came Gus, or was it 5?
5.
Okay. This is a bunch of kids,
Yeah.
all spread out.
Yeah.
So here's my big question. This is something that you've helped me on a lot, and I know that there are a lot of other new parents, moms, and dads that listen to the show, and also potential moms and dads who listen to the show. So what is, like, your big advice for new parents?
Well, I think new parents need to know how much they know. Listen to your instincts when you have that little baby, and you won't go wrong. And I think also you need to pace yourself, because these days, the newborn days, the little toddler days, they're the sweetest and I'm sorry to say the easiest of times.
Oh, Lord.
And so they're just so sweet. And when your children get older, it's when decisions are made that are, life-changing and can be stressful. And so that would be my advice.
Can I say something that's really cool about your mom is that somebody who's been in the, obviously raising 3 kids, but you've been a manager of a daycare operation basically for a long time. Like that, how that is like you will never freely give your advice. Your mom is not always trying to stick her nose in any
No,
of it.
I
Like
know.
it literally takes everything to get that out, anything out of her, which is really cool because she could easily be somebody that was very overbearing with the amount of knowledge she has, right? But she's not. But that advice was so huge. I'll never forget that one time when Jenny in the middle of the night, like crying, like I can't get Brighton to do whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Jenny's got all these books and everything, and you calls
Google.
you, and Jeanette goes, Jenny, throw the books away. Put the books aside. Just you're a mother. Listen to your instinct and do it. And then what you did next was what got Brighton to stop and all that. And it was like, I think that was one of the most simple. You were overthinking so much. Your mom's
I
like,
was.
get out of
Yeah.
that. Stop
Yeah,
worrying about it.
stop
Be a
it.
mom.
And
Listen to
that
your
is like
instinct.
Stop
I think that I'm probably the common 2018 2019 new mom. I mean, because we look to so many other people for advice and help, and there are so many experts, and and certain books have been really helpful in our raising of her and everything like that in her couple little years. But that was I won't ever forget that phone call, like in the middle of the night.
I will never forget that phone call in the middle of the night either. Oh, my heart was broken. But I knew these are two amazing people, two intelligent people, two people who love their baby, and that's really all you need.
Yeah, that's
That
the thing. We
love
think that
is-
we need to give them so much and all these classes and tools and things, and you
You
keep
just
saying.
need to love them. You know what's best. Your instincts will tell you.
So I live in, so we're all from Idaho, or we were raised in Idaho, my brothers and I. I live in Dallas. One brother lives in Paris, France, and has traveled all over the world. He lived in, let's think of some of the places he's lived.
Africa. He lived in Calcutta. He lived in Benin, West Africa. He traveled through Africa on a donkey. So he's lived
He's
away.
been-
He
he's
went to
lived
school in
internationally
Seattle,
for
and then
years.
he's lived internationally.
Our youngest brother, Gus, went to the University of Idaho. Thank goodness someone followed along with me. And then went to Oregon as a teacher and now is in North Carolina. So I think a lot of parents really feel this urge to keep their kids close around them, to really they want to make carbon copies of themselves. I don't think intentionally, but I almost think it's kind of like a human nature to just
You wanna keep your kids
keep
with
your
you.
kids
Yeah.
close.
Right.
So how do you do that? How do you raise kids to who go out and do all these different things, and we're all so different?
Well, I felt I just naturally wanted. I wasn't threatened by the kids doing what they wanted to do, wherever it led them. I wanted every single thing for them. I wanted them to become anything that they wanted to be. I always felt like that. And when you want that, then that can happen. And then they can go. But you know what? I get asked this question a lot. And I will say that having our kids travel and do the things they've done have given me things in my life I never could have imagined.
And that's the
It's
thing
okay.
that goes to, but that's the that is the downside that some parents don't realize that they do when they try to keep them in so much. They don't realize how much they miss by that happening, by seeing what the kids get to see.
Right, because I think as parents, you look at these times, they're toddlers, they're in an elementary school, then they're in high school, then they go to college, and you think that your relationship can stop there. Your relationship grows from that time. And when they are doing what they want and following their passion, that helps your relationship be even stronger. And your relationship will be something you could not even have imagined. And you can travel and do these things that I've been able to do, visiting our kids wherever they are. It's opened up my world so much. So parents, let your kids go. I mean, let them do. If they want to stay next door and that's what their passion, then help them move in next door. But if they want to go far, don't let it scare you.
I want to know the truth here. Let's give the listeners the most trying time of being Jenny and Chando's mother. When she was growing up, where was that age? It was like the toughest, and let's hear that. Like,
Great, now she's gonna tear up again.
Yeah, this needs to be told. When was and what was that like? When was the Jenny being rebellious and being Jenny?
Jenny had a very short time of rebellion.
But it was strong.
But it was strong. But she when she was in high school, probably the last couple years of high school were probably the toughest, because Jenny's always been a rule follower. She's always known. She's always had goals. She's always worked. But during that time, wow, there were some, there were some tough times, and but look, we got through them.
Wouldn't Jenny walk out of the house with a sweater on, and then take it off?
One time she did walk out. This was she was only in 7th grade. This was a start.
Okay, maybe it went from 7th grade to 12th grade.
Yeah, she came out and she was going to go to school, and she came out in cut off shorts, they were all frayed at the bottom.
I called them frayed to the sew.
She called them frayed to the sew. And
I don't know.
So she walked out in them, and she gave me a look like, so. And I said, go back to your room. And she went to her room, she changed her clothes, and then she came back out and she said, this just isn't that fun anymore. And then went off to school. But, it just was, that was like the first time where she,
Do you remember saying that?
No, I said a lot. I said some terrible things. I said there were fights in the church parking lot. I mean, I just to be real, because I do think
that's important. I think.
I think it's important for people to know that these things can ebb and flow, and we can be so close like we are now. But we were definitely not always that close. I was really difficult.
Yeah.
I was not good. I was a bad child for many years. But then, she stuck it out. And here we are.
Of course I did.
But the thing is, I see that sometimes I feel like parents at times are going through those rough patches with their kids, and they think this is the future forever, right? Like because when you're so deep in it, you can't get above it to realize this may be just a phase.
Did you ever think
true.
that? I was going to be a terrible person forever.
No.
Right.
No.
Of course not. No,
because
of course
Jenny
not.
was a good person. She was a good person. But, the teenage world, the high school, the middle school, those years are so rough. And I knew that. I knew that. And I knew that Jenny was such a good person, so insightful, so caring of others, such a good friend. At that time, can I say this?
Yeah.
We started writing to each other a little bit, because it would be a way to communicate that was safer. So
that's a good tip.
That is a good tip, and I've given that tip to other moms of teenagers, because it takes all the emotion out of it, and you can write down your thoughts. They can write back to you what their thoughts are, and you can kind of try to understand each other. But no, never did I think that it was. I knew that. I knew that Jenny's future was bright.
Like raising a strong-willed child is tough, but it's like also the best, because they're going to end up being somebody who's not going to be pushed over very easily.
Yes, and I always knew that Jenny would be a fabulous adult. I've always told you that. I knew she would be a fabulous adult, because those things that you go through. A lot of what Jenny went through was just because she did want to do the right things all the time, and not everyone does want to, and then you're kind of bucking that system.
Yeah, and then you're alone, you're lonely, alone. And you're mad, and it's just,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we can all agree those years were tough for everybody in our own ways. Okay, really quickly, what's your advice for grandparents? How do you maintain a good relationship with your son, daughter, their babies?
I've thought about this so much, and I really think that the most important thing is to stay out of this is their child. And it's a privilege for you to get to watch that child. The child is not yours. Their rules are the rules that you go by. You don't sneak something when they're gone. You don't let them stay up at night. You follow the rules, and that's how you stay in a good relationship with your children, and with your son-in-law and your daughter, or your daughter-in-law and son. You want those relationships. They're so precious, and so I would not do something to harm those by going against any rule that they have.
Grandparents do, though. My girlfriends, man, they're like, oh my gosh, they think this is their child.
Yeah, and I don't think it's my child. I raised my children, and I raised them in a way that they're good parents. Jenny and Heath are amazing parents, and they do things better than I did. Just with the sleep patterns and just the things that you do. No, you do such an amazing job. So I would never ever question that.
Well, I guess y'all maybe is giving some shout outs to your moms before we get out of here.
Yes.
No offense. My mom is the best mom.
Yes.
That's exactly what you should say. I love that you said that.
Yes.
I do
You're
love
both
that.
so great. Yeah, my mom is the best mom. I love her to death.
Give us like a favorite memory or something.
Oh gosh.
Or maybe go with whatever you were going to say.
Yeah.
No. I got a good one for you. I think I might have told this on the show before, but when I was a kid, I was a big fan of candy bars. Good to be honest, kind of the fat kid. It's fine. So I when I started the show, I was the fat kid. So I when I was a kid, I was a big sucker for Butterfingers, and my mom was a school teacher, so I would go with her during the summer sometimes and go to her classroom and hang out. And she was second grade, so it was perfect. And I remember I was there one summer, and we happened to go to the grocery store or something, and they had a sale on candy bars. They had Butterfingers. They were like 4 for $1 or something ridiculous, king size, huge, right? This was like the economy in 2011 or something. It was nuts. It wasn't 2011, but anyway, I saw these things and showed her, and she was like, "Sure, I get you many you want." I was like, "Really?" She's like, "Yeah, give me a $5 bill." I got like 20 Butterfingers. It's incredible. So I go to class, and I go to her class. I'm sitting there, and she's like, "You can eat as many as you want. Go nuts." So I ate like 7, and I felt horrible.
Yeah.
And like, man, oh man, did she know? Like, I laid off the Butterfingers, and I didn't slim down, but man, did I learn something.
She knew that if she'd have told you no, you would have fought.
Oh man, yeah, my mom saw that from a mile away. Like, she's just classic mom. She's awesome.
Oh, I love
Oh,
that
I love that
story.
story
That's
too.
another good lesson.
Yeah.
I love
for the
how
other
much
mom.
you love your mom.
She's so cool. She's so cool. All right,
Matt?
anyway, sorry.
Yeah. My mom was a teacher. She was my PE teacher, and then as I grew through elementary, middle, and high school, she transitioned to be a librarian and followed me all through school. So
Oh my gosh, I love that.
I say all the time, I was popular in school because of my mom. Because everybody loved my mom. They didn't want to.
I love that.
They didn't want to mess with me because they were like, no, Miss Stoker is the coolest. But the one thing I can, and the other nice thing was when I was growing up, my grandparents lived 10 minutes away. So if I was either at my house or I was at my grandma and granddad's house, and my grandma was as much of an influence on me as my mom was. But and they both, I think the best thing I can say about them is they both were very encouraging of me when I was trying to figure out, like, really responsible for what I'm doing now. Because when I was a kid, I may have said this before, when I was a kid, I used to record my own radio plays. I would record things on cassette.
I love it.
And they both would sit down when I was done, and they would sit down and listen to them and tell me about how funny it was, or how much they liked it, or just encouraged me to go back in there and record another one, and we want to hear it. So they were very instrumental in me kind of learning to love what I do now. And you can only connect the dots backwards, but I was like, that was something that was very, very, very instrumental. My dad taught me a lot about professionalism and about, being proud of your work, but my mom taught me everything else. So
That's awesome.
Gosh, no
That
wonder
is
you
such a
guys are
sweet
so
story.
awesome.
I know
It's
it.
a sweet story, and she was right on. She wasn't one of those parents who was encouraging somebody for something that they didn't have a gift for. You obviously have a gift for this, so that worked out well.
I love
Yeah.
that.
I look back and I think about my mom and them, and I also look at it and think on the aspect of how they were 17 when she had my brother. They were in the Army, and my dad was, in the Army, so he'd be gone months at a time, and raising little kids while you're a kid yourself, really, at 18, 19 years old. And I look back, and a lot of the traits that I have that I will buck a system. I will go against the norm. I will I will put myself out there. I will try things, whether or not I fail or not. And I really could. I'm going to be vocal, and I'm going to stretch it. And I could really care less what the repercussions really may be, but I go for them. And I look back a lot of that, and that was a lot of the attributes I got from my mom. My mom was the one that we lived out in an area where you didn't really have a lot of access stuff, but my mom was always one that she had a little clothing business, and she hustled every weekend to markets to selling clothes, and nobody taught her that. She didn't go to college or anything. She learned how to do it and hustled that, built making jewelry, selling jewelry anywhere she could. She would make shirts and sell them, and she was always shooting for something more and willing to try and do those things. And I think that where my dad is a lot more would talk about some stuff, but he was always kind of that main steady. My mom was the one that would go for it. She would go for it. She would try it, and And I look back and I feel like a lot of those attributes that have helped me where I am, I got from my mom in that arena, that she was always striving for something else, something different. And didn't matter. She didn't have an education. She was going to start selling clothes. She was going to make them. She was going to figure it out. She was going to learn. And that is a very dynamic type of attributes, I think, that I got from my mom as well. So love you, Mom.
Well, this has been such a sweet episode, you guys. Thank you, everybody, for weighing in. And we'll probably do a post in the Second Shot group and hear from everybody. Also, we heard a couple mentions of teachers. It is Teacher Appreciation this week, if you're listening to it right on Friday. So shout out to teachers. We every single one of us have a teacher in our family. Gosh, we could probably have done a whole nother thing about the impact teachers have had on us. So shout out to teachers. We love you guys. And I know that we have a lot of teachers as a part of the Second Shot family. So shout out to all of you.
Now, from Brighton's perspective, she has an awesome mother as well. And I watch her sit over here and give up tons of sacrifices. Listen, the amount of time, I go along for the ride. She spent hours, days, weeks studying every piece I can to try to be the best mother possible. What you give up for that, I just go along with it, and I go, oh, yeah, that works for me. Like, I actually was involved in that thought process, as well as being a career-driven, and I don't know if there's anybody that can do it better than you. So Brighton says, I love you, Mommy.
Oh, thanks, babe.
That's sweet.
I love you, Mama.
Mommy. Love you,
Sweetest
Mommy.
girl. Okay, what a sappy episode, you guys.
I know.
It's
Follow
been
Mother's
fun.
Day.
It wasn't too much.
It's Mother's Day.
No, it's
not too
not
much.
too much. I hope not. I guess we'll find out on the reviews, huh? Speaking of,
Speaking of,
Leave us a rating and
leave us
review.
a rating and a review.
Where can they find y'all?
JennyAnnChondo.com, on Instagram, JennyAnnChondo, and on my stories, my mom will be there because Jeanette does not have any form of social media because she is big celebrity like that.
that's right. At Apple Zackintosh on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook.com/group/Second Shot. Check it out. We're going to be over there hanging out.
You can find me at Matt_Stoker1 on Instagram and in lurking around the Facebook group. I'm there.
At Heath Oaks at Ignorance on Fire. And to all the mothers out there, we love you so much. Thank you for being you. See you next time.